Hey, this is Trish, and I just want to share a few end of the year tips on cleaning up your Google Classroom. Tip number one is to return all student work. When students create and submit assignments or other classwork to you, the ownership of the files changes from them to you. In order for those students to maintain those files and to be able to access those files after the school year, you want to return the work back to them. A lot of you do this along the way, so this isn't a step you necessarily have to do now. But if you haven't returned any student work to them, that's something I would definitely suggest doing first. When returning student work, you're going to look for any assignments that your students have submitted, select the assignment, and click to see the student work, grade if necessary, then check the box to select all your students and return their work. The main types of assignments that you'll want to make sure you return would be Google Docs and Google Slides presentations that students have completed that they may need access to in the future. Tip number two is to remove the students from the class. Once you know that they no longer need access, simply go into each class, go over to the People tab. You will see all of your students in a list. You're going to select the entire list in one shot, and then under the Actions menu, you're just going to go ahead and click Remove. By removing the students, they can no longer access your course, and they will not have your course showing up on their dashboard. They will still have access to any of the work they submitted in the course because that will be in their Google Drive. Tip number three is to archive your class. Simply come to the main screen in Classroom, click the three dots, and go ahead and click on Archive. If you did not remove your students from the class, you can still archive a class that has students in it. That will also remove the class from the students' accounts and they will no longer have access. The main reason we suggest to remove the students first is in case you ever unarchive the class. If you left the students in there and you restored the class, they would be able to access it again. So it's just a good practice to remove them first, but it's not a critical step. Now, before I go ahead and archive this class, I want to talk about this copy option. This copy option is new this year, so you may not have used this yet, but this gives us the ability to make a copy of an entire Google Classroom. It actually works out pretty well. When you click the copy button, it's going to prompt you to give the class a new name. So you can go ahead and edit the name to whatever makes sense for you. Then you'll click on copy. It may take a few minutes for this process to happen. If I go into the newly created copy, what you'll notice is nothing in the stream gets copied over. So no announcements, no student comments, nothing like that gets moved over. If I go to the People tab, there's no students in the class, and I have a brand new code that I can use. So it's all set up to go. And the real benefit is here in the classwork page. Everything that you had in your classwork page, that's all does move over, including all your topics, all of your assignments. Everything's going to be there. And the one thing you might notice is everything is in draft mode. So the students will not be able to see it. When they join the class is going to look empty, and it's not until you choose to go into each of the items and post it that they'll see it. Once you are ready next school year to start showing them some of these items, you would simply come to the three dots, go ahead and edit the post. You feel free to make any changes if necessary, and then just go ahead and click post. Once you do that, they'll be able to see it in the classroom. So overall, I think this is a really good option for those of you that have a lot of content in your classes and you know you're going to be using it again with the students next year. You can definitely delete things that you don't need if you decide you're not teaching those topics or doing those assignments, and you can use them in any order whenever you want. In the past, some of you may have used this reuse post option. It's still an excellent option, but if you've gone through this process of copying your classroom, you'll most likely not need to use that option anymore because all of your posts have already been copied all in one shot. One last thing that I want to point out, and this is really important, is let's say you teach 3 sections of the same course. You don't need to copy all 3 classes. You're simply going to copy one with the same process we went through. And then for the remaining sections, just click on the plus sign and create classes like you normally would. Those will be empty. Those will not automatically have copies of all the assignments and materials. And so what you'll do is when you are ready to post something, you'll go into the main course that does have all the content. Okay? You'll find something that's there in draft mode that you want to post. And when you edit that post, just like normal, you'll click on the drop down arrow and just go ahead and choose whatever other sections you want to get that posting, and then you'd go ahead and click post. So just to reiterate, if you do teach multiple sections of the same thing, you'll only need to make one copy of the course, and the rest of the classes, you'll just go ahead and use the plus sign and create them that way. For elementary teachers that only have one Google Classroom for their students, if you make a copy, you don't have to do anything else after that. You're good to go. If you decide you'd rather not copy your class and instead you'd like to start fresh for the new school year, you can still just click on the plus sign and create your classes like you've been doing in the past. Tip number 3 is archiving your class. Once you've made your copy or done whatever else you might need to do, just click the 3 dots and click archive. Choose archive again, and that class will then be removed from your dashboard. If you ever want to go back to the archived classes, simply click the main menu on the top left, scroll all the way down, and you'll be able to go into your archived classes. In here, you'll see any classes from the past that you've archived. You'll see these little slashed lines, which means they're archived. You can still go into all of those classes and see everything that's there. The last thing you'll want to clean up is your GoGuardian account. If you've been using GoGuardian this year, you'll want to archive those classes. This way you're not tracking students or attempting to track them over the summer. Even if you did leave GoGuardian running, you wouldn't be able to track them while they're home, but it's still a good idea to clean these up. To do that, just click on one of your classes, click on the Settings menu, and then click Archive Classroom. Once you've done that, click the main menu. You can click on any other class, go to Settings, go to Archive Classroom, and just repeat that process for each one. I hope these tips were helpful. Email me if you have any questions, and have a wonderful summer.